News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Denise Pellegrini. Voter discontent with President Trump's economic stewardship is sinking his popularity. CNN poll out today shows just 39% of Americans approve of how Trump is steering the economy. That's the lowest of his 2 terms in the White House. And an NBC News poll shows tariffs were deeply unpopular, with just 39% of respondents agreeing with Trump's tariff rollout. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent pushing back on the polls, though. He says consumers still have powerful purchasing power.
The surveys may say that, but consumers are still spending. So I prefer to look at what Americans are doing rather than how they're answering pollsters.
And Bessent there on ABC's This Week. Republicans aiming to pass Trump's tax plan through a process that wouldn't require Democrat votes, but the angst over the economy and the threat of a recession and the fear of all that's coming through in these polls could make it challenging for Trump to get everything he wants. If you're shopping online this weekend, brace yourself. You might find higher prices. Shein Group hiking U.S. prices on a bunch of consumer goods. That's ahead of imminent tariffs on small parcels from China. A study by Bloomberg says the Shein price of beauty and health products increased 51%, women's clothing by 8%, home and kitchen products and toys, well, the average jump there more than 30%. All this with U.S. consumer confidence already waning. Joanne Su, director of surveys at the University of Michigan.
I think as long as tariff policy remains unresolved, things will still be hairy with inflation expectations.
And Sue there on the Bloomberg Intelligence podcast, which you can download wherever you get your podcasts. U.S. stocks did close slightly higher Friday in another roller coaster week. Big week for tech coming up with Apple, Amazon, Meta Platforms, and Microsoft all reporting quarterly results. Also, we'll be getting the monthly jobs report on Friday, and we'll have live special coverage for you of that on Bloomberg Radio and Television, and in-depth analysis on Bloomberg News Now. Death toll rising in Iran after that massive explosion at an Iranian port linked to missile fuel shipment. At least 40 people now confirmed dead. More than 1,200 others injured in yesterday's blast. The Associated Press is citing a possible link to a recent ship of rocket fuel from China intended to replenish Iran's missile stocks, which have been depleted by the country's attacks on Israel in the course of its war with Hamas in Gaza. The U.S. and Iran reporting progress on talks on a deal over Iran's nuclear program. After discussions yesterday in Oman, the two sides agreeing to meet again, possibly in Europe. Senior administration official on the U.S. side describing the talks as productive and positive. Bloomberg's Arsalan Shala says the negotiations do appear to have momentum, but remember, these talks are still being mediated by Oman. They are not direct talks.
Two sides are not directly meeting each other. They are still, according to the Iranian version of the meetings, they are still seated in separate rooms and only exchange notes via Oman's foreign minister.
Bloomberg's Arsalan Shala. 11 people dead after a man drove into a crowd at a Filipino heritage festival in Vancouver. Vancouver Acting Police Chief Steve Rye.
At approximately 8:14 p.m., a lone suspect, subject male with one vehicle, drove through a crowded community event.
Police say others were injured last night when the vehicle struck people attending the Lapu-Lapu Day Festival. A 30-year-old Vancouver man arrested at the scene. And in sports, Liverpool has been crowned Premier League champion after a 5-1 win against Tottenham. The club's record equaling 20th English League title matched the achievement of its great rival Manchester United. Liverpool fans, as you can imagine, partying inside and outside the stadium. And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Denise Pellegrini, and this is Bloomberg.